maybe it's you. Maybe you're the viewer. I think you're the only. To be fair, mate, I think you're the only person who watches my video. So anyway, if you don't
I'm
mind,
your number one fan, so
if you don't mind leaving your customary like and comment, that'd be great for the algorithm. Might surpass 100 views on this one. No, good. I'm excited about the stream, and I'm excited about what we're gonna talk about. So I think just let the guys know first of all, like who you actually are, and why we're actually having this discussion today.
okay. Well, I suppose for those that don't know me, my name is Daniel. I've recently trained as a life coach and in something called integral eye movement therapy, which just helps people with their anxieties, especially if they got low confidence or limiting beliefs about themselves. But more importantly, I have worked in the dating industry for the last 14 years as the cameraman and producer for pretty much every dating coach that you could possibly think of that has passed through London at some point in the last 14 years. And I have helped them to either grow their businesses on YouTube or definitely and absolutely filmed a ridiculous amount of infields that have pretty much given me PTSD at this point as well. So yeah, I think that kind of covers everything really with that.
Yeah, I mean, you've worked with all the greats as well, right? You've worked with Mystery, you worked with Torero, you've worked with me, and like over like 15,000 cold approaches that you filmed, which is crazy. So
Yeah.
it made sense to me in my mind. Like, I wanted to put together an offer, and I wanted to package it in a way where it would become like the most unique coaching experience available. And I feel like that's what we've got now. So basically, what this is, I've called them Renaissance Days, and really simple. The guys who are going to sign up to this, they're going to have a full 4-hour one-on-one individually tailored coaching session with Dan, where you're gonna get your approaches filmed. All right. So there's no obligation for these infields to be posted onto YouTube. Like, that's not what we're here for. It's for private use only. Okay. But what I've found, because I've been doing this for 3 years now, and basically since I started, I've been working with you. Like, you've basically been my coach for the past 3 years. And since we started
When
filming.
you're a wee baby as well, when
I know,
you
right?
first started and you were like Daniel, I want to do my first approach on camera. Have you got any advice? And I was like, oh, well, you go do
well,
it, and
well,
I'll
what
watch.
was funny was when I first got in contact with it, it was around December time. I don't know if you remember. And even
Yep,
before
during
we
the lockdown, yeah.
even before we worked together, you actually gave me feedback. So I was like, right, I want to film on like the 18th and the 19th of December, and you were like, you're a moron. You got no chance of filming during those days. London is going to be way too busy. So, like, point
It
being,
wasn't during. It was during Christmas then, right?
yeah,
Yeah. I think because you wanted to go down like Oxford Street and Regent Street, and I just
yeah,
know from experience that it is so packed down there. I mean, you can hardly even see the floor beneath you with how busy it would get. And I remember now. Yeah, and you were like, yeah, can we film that? I was like, yeah, don't even bother. You'll
yeah.
get the audio, but you won't get the footage. And if you're starting off, you definitely need the footage, especially if you want to watch yourself and see how you're doing on camera anyway, and seeing if there's anything to adapt or adjust from that as well.
Yeah, and that was super valuable to me, because at the time I hadn't made any of these London infield videos. Like, prior to that point, I was just making infields in Leeds, like with my camera guy there. Like, we just using like old school cameras, like balancing it on a bin. Like, nothing was professional in the
Balancing it on
slightest.
the bin,
Yeah, I know, right?
that's impressive even by my feet. So
I got him a big black strap on by the end of it, so he could wear it around his neck. He's really
I
happy
was going to say
about
like a big black bag, like as if he was like hiding discreetly behind some
that.
like litter bags and whatnot to get as close as possible.
But yeah, like, as soon as we started working together, because we had like a little consultation before we did our filming, and
We did.
this is what guys are going to be getting as well. Okay, so you're basically going to be getting the treatment that I've had for the past 3 years. So you're going to meet up with Dan. He'll take you to a nice little cafe where you'll get to know each other, a little instant date to start off the day. Then you'll do a
I'll bring the
3 hour.
roses as well.
Oh,
So,
please do.
to really make it, as romantic as possible. Maybe even a violinist to add to
If you need a magician, let me know. I know a really good one who's very cheap.
You can bring the entree as well as you do.
Yeah, he's Nick Krauser, really good at the vanishing rope. Anyway, so yeah, you'll meet with Dan to start off the day. He'll be able to put you at ease because I appreciate it's all a bit of a weird thing, you know. Like even like when we met up for the first time, it's weird. Like you're meeting someone that you've never met before. You put me at ease straight away. Then we film together, and that's exactly what's going to be happening with the guys. They're going to be filming with you around London. You're going to be capturing their infield footage. You're also going to be able to just give them feedback because you'll be able to listen to their conversations as well. So you'll be able to see them, you'll be able to listen to them, and then you'll actually be able to give them individually tailored feedback in real time. Like you can
Yep.
adjust this, this, and this. And then the beauty of it is Dan is then going to send the footage over to me for deeper analysis. Okay, so you do the whole session with Dan, he gives you feedback, so you're going to be able to make progress straight away from the feedback that he gives you. But then the real magic is going to happen after the session where
Mhm.
I get to then look at the footage, I get to then break it down. We'll then schedule a 45-minute renaissance call after your session with Dan within the week. All right. So I want to get it done like ASAP. I want to get you that feedback like within the week of you doing the session. And then I'll be then able to give you my feedback as well. So the beauty of this is you're getting two vantage points, two perspectives. You're getting Dan's feedback in real time, and then you're getting feedback from me as well. So it's this beautiful, almost like this virtual coaching experience where I'm able to see what you're doing, and then Dan's able to give you the feedback in real time as well. But is there anything that you want to add on to that?
Yeah, I mean, certainly some of the things that I look at with guys, especially over the years, and more importantly, even with coaches that I'd worked with, is that I always look at three areas. So body language, how someone is presenting themselves, especially if they're going to be doing an approach, because even something as just adapting or adjusting your posture can be already the difference between not being confident and being really confident, and just how you're presenting yourself to someone. So body language is the first thing that I certainly observe. The second would be linguistics. How is a client talking to the girls that they're stopping? Because if you're talking way too quickly and then the girls can't understand what you're saying, if you're talking at a really high pitch and you sound like a squirrel and she's just like I can't take this guy seriously at all, then those are certainly things that I can end up advising on. But even things like the actual tonality and the speed of the speech as well. If you're talking too fast, she's not going to be able to catch up with you, especially if you're talking to people who aren't necessarily from London either. So those can all play a big factor. And then the last thing would be the actual structure of content. What are what topics are you talking about in your conversations? What are you actually saying that is building attraction between you and the person that you're talking to? Because if you're either, I mean, I think it's probably safe to say from some of the stuff that we filmed, it's quite clear you can talk about literally anything with girls, and it works, but
Mm.
it's the delivery of it is what gets you the results. So all of those things in combination with each other, with me being able to observe and give feedback on your body language, linguistics, and structure of content, then I can certainly help you to shape how you're portraying yourself in your interactions, and hopefully, yeah, get you better results as well. And I suppose, if anything, one other thing is just trying to get guys to stop necessarily copying the lines and stuff that their favorite coaches are using.
Mm.
I think one of the dangers, especially, well, not a danger, but certainly one of the negatives for guys is that, yes, they use lines as a crutch to get started from their coaches. If they know something has been tried and tested, they will use it themselves and go like, oh, okay, well, if if Christian's got this result, then, oh, if I say the same thing, I'll get that as well. But it doesn't necessarily allow guys to develop their own conversations, their own personal lines and routines that they want to use, that allows them to be very curious of the women that they're talking to. So I'll certainly also do my very best to help you to find your own kind of words and way in how you want to articulate yourself to the women that you're talking to. And you'll just also find that you'll get better conversations with people, because you're not thinking like, oh, what would Christian say? You'd be like, oh, well, what do I want to say? What am I genuinely curious about with the person I'm talking to? And you'll just also get better results from that alone. So I've got my own exercises and things that I certainly have helped coaches and just guys anyway in general over the years, especially if it's guys that I've been out and doing approaching with. I know certainly hand on heart that like results wise, you'll improve from definitely the feedback that I'll be able to give you on all of those fronts.
Yeah, I mean, I would say as well that I'm living proof of how good you actually are at what you do. Because when I signed up to work with you, I thought I was just going to be getting someone to film for me. But really, I've had 3 years of coaching with you, and like it's all available to see. You've got that catalog of content on my channel where you can actually see my progression, and there's no way that I would have got as good as I got, as fast as I got, if it hadn't have been for working with you. Like it just wouldn't have happened. Like guys are always like, oh, who have you been coached by? Where did you learn from? Like who was giving you feedback? Well, it was this guy here. Like I was able to soak up the wealth of knowledge that you had, like by working with so many coaches, like basically shaping the entire day game industry as well. Like, I feel like guys don't actually understand like how big of an impact you've actually had on this.
Oh
Like
yeah, I
every
mean I've done a lot behind the scenes. Even with I don't think a lot of guys kind of realize that my role has never been just a cameraman with the coaches. It's been probably leaning more towards being a producer with them. Like because a lot of them when they had approached me in the beginning, they just had no idea how to put themselves out there on YouTube. They also had a lot of them also had no idea how to explain the stuff that they'd learned as well, and they also couldn't necessarily relate it to the guys who are watching the videos. So a lot of them they'd end up making content, but just finding like they just weren't getting the right kind of level of communication across. So for me to certainly with the years that I've worked in the industry, I've always kind of put myself in this position of someone who is being sold, the goal or the dream of being able to, better my dating life. And then I've also been on the side of like, well, I know what guides need to experience or see for them to commit to this idea of working with a coach. So I've kind of certainly been on both sides of the spectrum here of what needs to be in that middle for guys to see content wise. But yeah, it's usually the delivery that's always been the struggle. But yeah, that's where I've been able to shape the industry and certainly put out content that has I'm going to proudly say revolutionized it. Like I was one of the first people to put out rejection footage with coaches. I mean, and then that literally rippled across the industry when guys could see that these coaches were human. They were just your normal everyday guy who were also getting rejections just as much as your normal guy who was thinking about improving their dating life. So yeah, so no, I'm certainly proud of the changes that I've added.
Yeah, feedback is everything with this, and feedback is everything with everything. Like whatever skill that you want to get good at, whether it's going to the gym, like hiring a personal trainer, maybe hiring a personal stylist for your fashion, or even for me as well. Like I recently, and guys know about this, I recently invested into a $10,000 coaching mastermind group,
Oh,
and
nice.
the whole point of that was for me almost to practice what I preach as well, because I'm always looking for ways to evolve. And now when I'm basically when I'm saying to guys the importance of getting feedback and getting coaching, it's like I'm walking the walk as well. Like $10,000 is it's a decent chunk of change to actually invest into something, but it's because I've been coaching guys for 3 years after I've been coached by you, and I'm getting feedback in so many different areas. Like it's the best way to accelerate your progress, because you don't know what you don't know. Like as soon as I joined this mastermind group, like I was getting feedback because there's like millionaires in this group, and they were just giving me like I'm like the smallest fish in that particular pond, which is great, and that's exactly where you want to be, because you don't want to feel as though you've arrived anywhere. It's like there's so much ahead of you. So being able to actually get like no bullshit feedback from people who are better than you,
Yep.
it's the best way to make progress, because you're like it's so easy to be unaware of your own blind spots as well. Like from a day game perspective, there's a million and one things that you could be doing wrong, that you most likely are doing wrong. Because I'll meet guys all the time who've been doing this much longer than I have, and they're basically still in the same position that they started,
Yeah.
except now they've got even more self-limiting beliefs and negative thought patterns, because they've been watching videos, like you say, copying and pasting what they've been seeing. It's not
Mhm.
working for them because they're not getting individually tailored feedback. And that's why it's so crucial for you not only to get feedback, to actually be able to watch yourself back as well, like actually see what we're talking about. Because it's all right for us to say you're speaking too fast, your body language is shit, you need to dress better, you need to get a little bit closer to the girl when you're speaking to her, look at your eye contact, proximity, whatever. But until you actually see it, it's almost like wanking in the wind. You've got no idea. Like you might understand it in theory, but you don't understand it in practice because you can't actually see it. And that's why we wanted to introduce this, to really open your eyes to what you're shit at, so you can make lightning progress with it.
Yeah. In fact, on top of that, especially when you said about the guys being in the same place, I was thinking like, yeah, they're probably still on Oxford Street at that exact
Oh,
same
100%.
spot, like years later, like the charity workers trying to sell their services. But no, I mean, I agree. I mean, the thing that guys do forget about is like, in fact, the guys who have done really, really well in this industry are the ones who do work on their own personality and they create their own persona. So they're not following again the lines and routines that they are copying from other coaches. They you know, everyone starts off like that. Don't get me wrong. So which is, I think, is fine as a crutch, but it's when the development can then start to hinder if they're not looking to have their own kinds of conversations. You know, at some point you've got to develop that confidence where you can go, right, you know what do I want to ask the women that I'm talking to? What am I genuinely curious about that then I can have a conversation with, rather than, you know, following again like, oh well, I've done the approach and I've given the compliment. Right now, I need to transition it into this sort of, you know, if that's too pick-uppy, you know, and a normal person wouldn't be thinking about how to structure a conversation whilst they're having a conversation. It would just naturally flow. And the best coaches, and definitely I notice it a lot with yourself anyway, because I've always sort of pointed it out and say like, yeah, you had a really great conversation there, but you know, it's just the fact that you talk about the things that you want to talk about.
Yep.
And then you're really good, and maybe this is just because of like your experience with the entertainment side of all the magician stuff that you've done, but you're very good at improv. You know, the stuff that you've spoken about, especially that I film with you. Um, you've said things that I've never heard any other coach talk about or say, you know, just conversation wise or banter wise, especially with women. And what happens because of that? You've got this very charismatic charm that the women are absolutely in love with, and you're having good interactions because of that. Whereas you can look at other coaches and you're hearing the same copy and paste thing of the old day game blueprint, which is the whole, excuse me, going to tell you something really quickly. What I noticed about you was XYZ. And, you know, again, as a crutch, great. But you can't 5 years later still be using that exact same structure. You've got to mix it up. You've got to develop your improv, your conversation skills. Otherwise, you're going to get bored. You are literally going to get bored of having the same conversations. And I've known that with guys as well, who have even gone on dates and they say the exact same like question game or this and that. And then they've said to me, like, you know, I'm so bored of it. And I will question and say, well, why don't you say something different? Why don't you be adventurous and try something new? And they're like, yeah, but I don't know if that builds attraction or not. And these are people who've done it for years. So, you know, you need to certainly develop your own conversations. If you, for again, those who get really, really good at this, and also don't need to then be spending every second of the day going out and doing approaching. The ones who are really good, they develop their improv, they develop being able to talk about the things that they want to talk about in any kind of chronological order as well. Which, you know, again, going to someone like a dating coach like Kristian, it absolutely you can get all of that. And just being comfortable with the unknown and the chaos of what a conversation should be as well.
Yeah, what do you like? Obviously, in your experience, for the guys listening to this, like, what do you think are the main areas that guys struggle with the most? Like, after working with a lot of people, are there any areas that stand out where you think, oh, again, this is an issue? Like, aside from like the approach itself, which obviously we're going to help guys with as well. Like, there is a lot of value in just having someone next to you to just push you into it, and especially when you've paid money for the service as well, it gives you that added motivation to actually get in there. But aside from the actual approach, what do you think are the main like sticking points that guys face when they try and do this on their own?
Oh, funny enough, I did a video on this. I mean, there's certainly a number of things. If guys are going out and they're doing it on their own, I think there's certainly they put too much pressure on themselves with being very outcome dependent on getting a result,
Mm-hmm.
and they can almost forget about the actual enjoyment part of talking to people.
Mm.
I've seen it so many times over the years where there is the obsession with, you've got to get numbers, you've got to sleep with women and stuff, and the dark side of it is if you're actually not thinking about having a good relationship with the women that you're trying to meet and seduce. So the danger of that is that then you get guys who then become very outcome dependent. They're going out for the sole purpose of like, oh, I have to get numbers, I have to sleep with women, and it can turn them just a bit weird
Mm.
because of that. And what might have been a very innocent journey to start off with can suddenly turn dark because they're not going out to meet people to actually date and get to know people more. They're not thinking about having really good conversations. They're just thinking about, right, I have to just sleep with women. I need that validation because that means that I must be, this alpha guy or whatever, just because of the number of women that they're sleeping with. So certainly, yeah, if you are going out and you are doing approaching, whether it be on your own or actually with other people, um, do it because you are looking to develop yourself as a man, that you're looking to be more confident and more comfortable with having conversations and flirting with people. Don't just go out just for the sake of like, I have to. I have to get numbers. I have to sleep with girls and stuff because then I can turn around to the other lads and say, "Yeah, I've slept with 5 women this week." Because it's nonsense. At the end of the day, people only care about their own numbers and their own results. Trying to preach that to other people, it's not a race. I've seen it all before. So that's certainly an issue. Also, if you do want to better develop your conversation skills, especially if you're going out with friends or other wings or guys or whatever, um, when you are actually out, don't talk about game with them.
Mm-hmm.
Talk about normal things with each other, and I can assure you, you're not going to get stuck in this mindset of like of the well, we'll just call it the pickup mindset, where you're going out with a strategy and this and that. Just be like a group of guys. You're going out to have fun and interact with people, and you're going out with curiosity to find out more about the women that you're sleeping with or wanting to sleep with anyway. So being able to talk to people, just have normal conversations. Try and go when you're going out. Try and have the most pick-uppy conversations as you possibly can, and I can assure you, your conversations will be better simply because you're going to be in more of this mindset of just having normal conversations with people. And at the end of the day, with women that you are talking to, you really the only statement you really need to make is like that you find them attractive, and that's about it. And then your conversations are kind of normal. She already respects you at the fact that you've gone over and done something that no one else is doing, and you've stated your intention. And if anything, even having at that point this attitude of like, okay, I want to find out a little bit about her before I ask for her phone number, and then I can decide that that she's not just a pretty face, she's not just a girl that I'm talking to, that there is a little bit more substance to her. And you know what? I know if I'm going to ask her out on a date, we are going to have a good time. And I think the one other thing I can certainly think of, there's a few things, but I know my brain is going to be a bit scattered here. But I mean, the other thing is that guys tend to just talk to everyone, and if they haven't got the social skills, that isn't useful for you at all. There's something to be said in quality over quantity, that you're better to
Mm.
have stronger, fewer interactions or better interactions with people rather than trying to ricochet from every girl that you've seen on the street
Mm.
and thinking that that is going to improve your results. If you're really bad at conversations and you don't know how to talk to people, trying to talk to hundreds of women in a single day isn't going to improve your conversations. what does improve your conversation is trying to find out and learn things about the women that you're talking to, like any normal person would, especially if like you were going to a social event. If you were making friends, maybe like if you're really young and you've just started uni or something, you're going to go up and you're going to have conversations with people. You're going to find out what their hobbies and interests are. You're going to find out if there's things that you both like and dislike, and you're going to filter people that way. And
Mhm.
there's even an element of self actualization in that, where you are being picky. You understand your own self worth and what you like, what you don't like, what you're attracted to, and what you're not attracted to. And you know what? That is where, when you do end up talking to people, you have. Well, I'd kind of dub it as like you're on the same frequency as each other. It's also kind of been termed as like the vibe, and and this and that. But ultimately, you see it in videos. And in fact, I think even with a lot of your videos, Kristian, some of the interactions you've had, you can tell that you and the girl are on the same wavelength, and that your banter matches their banter, and just asking for that phone number is effortless, even if you're talking about the most random nonsense thing. But it just works magically. It just sort of goes hand in hand with each other. I'd say there's nothing gamey about what you do, because your conversations are just so pure and natural and in the moment. And everyone, in fact, the big thing is every one of your conversations are very different from each other. You might have the odd thing that you do say in each one, because I think you tend to use the joke about with your name, and like your mum said your name was cool. It's fair enough. It's like if a comedian uses a joke, or if someone hears a joke from a comedian, you're going to use that line on different people. And first of all, it's going to be a really, really poor delivery, and maybe someone might have a bit of a chuckle, but you use it a couple of times, and you then probably add to the joke, you twist it a little bit and turn it into your own thing. And
Mhm.
then suddenly you've got something that's yours, and
Mm.
people are loving, and you're very likely even building attraction with people from it. So yeah, does that all kind of make sense? I know
Yeah,
I'm
no, no,
tangenting a
definitely.
little bit, but
I think that's super valuable. I think guys listening to this live stream can apply that stuff, and I think that's just great. Like just being able to actually get that feedback on the stream and then be like, oh, that makes sense. Because I think because you're right, because like everyone does have their own conversational crutches,
hmm,
but if they work, it's fine because everyone doesn't matter how long you've been doing it for. You will just reach those points of conversation when your mind goes blank. Like the thing that I do, I call it play dating, where I'm like, I'm really looking forward to the second date. That sort of thing, like making it seem like this conversation on the streets of first date. Like guys can literally say that word for word. It's actually very unlikely that it's going to work for them as soon as they say it because they've not had the reps. I've said that to so many people now that I know exactly how to deliver it, and also it's the way that I'm delivering, and I think most importantly, it's because it's me that's saying it. So that's not to say you can't go out and be like, oh, I'm really looking forward to how the second date's going to go. Play your cards right. You might get a third date, but
oh yeah,
it's
especially if you say it with such a boring, like straight face, as I've like yeah, I can't wait for a second. Yeah, she's just gonna be like, what on earth is this
or
guy
if you say
talking
it
about?
if you say like so quiet as well, that it's almost apologetic. And
Got
she's
like
like,
a whisper. Yeah.
can you repeat that? It's like asking someone to repeat the punchline of a joke. It's like, oh no. So it's fine. It's fine to have these crutches, these like this ammunition that you can go into your conversations with, but understand that it is very much about discovering your own approach to this, like
Yeah,
finding what works for you, getting individually tailored feedback. And also, I think it's important as
finding your
well.
own rhythm.
Well, yeah, but playing to your strengths as well. Because
Mm,
if you are a more serious guy, I don't think there's any necessity for you to become this super playful, charismatic person. I actually think you should learn to amplify what you've already got and
yeah,
play to your strengths. So if you are more of a serious guy, it's going to be a lot easier for you to cultivate more of that like grounded, seductive vibe, which is what I struggled with at the start. So I had to learn that. I learned that by getting feedback from you, from myself, and also from the world as well, because I was putting my content out on YouTube. So people were actually saying, oh, you're a bit too high energy here. It's a bit too like entertainerish. In the time, obviously, it sucks. No one wants to receive harsh criticism, but it is feedback and it is necessary and it is for you to actually grow. But yeah, just like being able to amplify what actually is working for you, like your personal strengths. And I
mm,
think, because I do think oftentimes like there's almost pressure on guys to fit into this certain mold. Like maybe they watch a video and the guy who's made the videos like, right, you need to be more playful in your conversations, or you need to be more grounded. And they're trying to do all these different things, but they don't know what actually works for them, because the advice isn't tailored for them. It's tailored to a global audience. And the
It's
guy just
reminded me of
knows.
a funny story as well. But yeah, no, I'll carry on.
No. Tell me the story. Tell me the story.
So I remember once I was filming with a coach, and they had a client, and it was a really big well, it wasn't big and bulky, but he was like a tall guy, had a very sort of serious sort of look to him.
Mm-hmm.
But hilariously, when he was then going into interactions, he was very enthusiastic with his hands. So he'd be talking, be like, yeah. And it was the most comical thing. And I remember, and this is a coach who's like dropped off and disappeared now. This was years ago, but I remember like the coach was like, I don't know what to suggest to him. I said, isn't it obvious? Like, he needs to calm his body language, and he needs to relax how he's speaking as well. He's speaking way too high. He's way too handsy, he looks like he was juggling like invisible balls in the air. It was the most funniest thing. And I said to him, look, take a deep breath, pace your speaking as you're talking to this girl or the next woman that you're going to be speaking to, and I want you to just try and relax your hands. And I said to him, right, you're not allowed to lift your hands above like your waist. So although you can't quite see it on the camera, but I said, like, you can't lift it much higher than like your belly button. And he then went into the next interaction. He sort of struggled with it a little bit, because it's that trying to be very conscious of okay, I've got to keep my hands down. I've got to keep my hands down. But after a couple, suddenly he found his rhythm. And then what was even stranger was that he just went straight into this like seductive mode, and I was like, where was this guy a couple of hours ago? Like, you can clearly see just how much more welcoming these women are to this like seductive, I was going to say James Bond, but not really James Bond, but just this more seductive, grounded kind of guy. And he was starting to get numbers. And I remember just from that alone, I mean, his conversations were okay anyway, but it's just the fact that he calmed his enthusiasm, probably because of the anxiety that he was experiencing in that moment as well. But the fact that he just calmed himself down and then just had learned that, okay, I need to just be a bit more still with my body language. That was what had worked for him. And in fact, even in another story, I've certainly, as you know, there's been plenty of guys in this industry who are really shy. It's kind of one of the reasons why guys go to a dating coach anyway, because they want to build their confidence. And, there have been plenty of guys that are a little bit too still. They are struggling with with having a conversation, but part of it is because they're not encouraging energy to kind of flow through their body to be able to bring that vocal tonality up and then be able to speak. So like, I find that if I actually have like my hands to my side, that totally shifts my energy. I can just sort of feel it. It's almost like as if everything's just like sinking. But if I'm very, at least, enthusiastic, or if I talk more with my hands, I can even hear it in my own vocal tonality that I can speak a lot louder, I can speak a lot more clearly, and that also holds people's attention that little bit more. So, a shy guy might then need to be a bit more enthusiastic just with his hands, which might in turn bring his energy up and make him speak a little bit louder and a lot clearer to be heard as well.
Yeah, I find that when guys work with me, one of the things that they realize immediately is how loud my voice is, and I speak loud, right? And we're
Well, I'm
going,
about to tell you, when I've had the headphones in and I'm like, shh, calm down just a little bit before
so
I go
yeah.
deaf by the end of the session.
And it's something that I've kind of always, it comes from magic, because like obviously I was performing on stages, etc. But
Being the entertainer, and I suppose for you as well, I mean, you can tell me otherwise, but part of your job with being the entertainer is being able to hold an audience's attention
yeah,
rather than just one or two people. You've got to hold like a crowd.
yeah,
So developing that skill
yeah,
would mean that you have to learn to project your voice more. You have to learn how to be comfortable having many eyes on you. So like the spotlight effect is certainly, a challenging one for guys, but it's also just a barrier that can quite easily be overcome just through desensitization. So for you, you probably even had this mindset of like, I have to get over the spotlight effect. Otherwise, I'm not going to be able to get jobs as a magician.
Correct.
So when you've also, I think, got some determination to overcome something. And okay, this
Yeah.
is probably more of like a life coachy bit, but when you've got something, some motivation to overcome something, usually you tend to work harder to overcome it and desensitize yourself to it.
No, like
That makes sense,
yeah,
though, at
no,
least. Yeah.
like a million percent. Like 'cause now when I'm walking around with guys, it's like they see how socially free that I am, and you learn through osmosis, right? You can either spend 10 years pissing your time away, try to teach yourself all this stuff from scratch, or you
Mm,
can just do it in rapid time. That's why we put these single day sessions together. Like if this was available when I started, I would have gobbled this opportunity up because this is literally giving you everything you need to annihilate your approach anxiety and actually learn where you're going wrong. Like nip it in the bud now before it becomes a problem that's too difficult to break. Like it's
yeah.
so easy to get into like bad habits with this. And if you've been doing this for 3 or 4 years and you've been doing the same stuff wrong, then it's going to take more time to undo the bad work. But if you're listening to this now, maybe you've been out the game for a long time, or maybe you're looking for a way to get into the game, these single day sessions are for you. And I feel as though we should be charging a lot more money than we are for these. Okay, so the price for everything that we've discussed is just £595, and we're gonna give a £45 discount to the first guy who actually signs up. So we want to reward action takers, and I feel as though like we're sitting on Bitcoin back in 2008. Like this is such a valuable opportunity, and it's something that I think any guy listening to this should gobble up. Like if you're in the UK, get yourself to London, team up with Dan, book the session in with us, get it filmed, get it recorded, get feedback from Dan, and then get the feedback sent over to me. I'll give you that deeper analysis. And also what we can do as well is we can also introduce you to guys who we personally know in London, who you can also team up with and go out with. Like this shouldn't be a solo sport. It's a team sport, and it's also an extreme sport. No one should be doing this on their own. I believe truly that it's almost impossible to do this on your own. If you're parading around the pavement as the lone wolf, then it's a very lonely existence. It's not sustainable, and it's also not healthy either,
Yeah,
right?
especially
Like
if you do it for too long as well. Like if you're someone who's going out like literally every day for a couple of hours on your own, um, yeah, it's not healthy having that kind of alone time. You need to be socializing with people. You need to be having normal conversations with people, which is going to just ultimately help you with your approaches anyway, because you're going to know what to say and in regards to having just a normal conversation.
No, 100%. So there's a link that guys can click. It's literally the only link in the description. So follow the link through. That'll take you to the page. You can read all the information. We've already give you the information anyway, but it's all there. It's all outlined. Like we say, there is no obligation for the footage to go onto YouTube. This is private content for your
Yeah.
eyes only. We'll review it. Dan will review it. It's just between us. If, however, you do want to become an internet celebrity and you do want to inspire other guys out there, then definitely let us know. Like the content, infield content, is so valuable to guys. Like all I get, and again, this was feedback that you provided to me. You always told me that the student in fields are the most valuable. So the videos that we've made with Shay, with Tom, with Mark, with George, those are the videos that guys reference. Like when they meet me, say a guy meets me on the street, it'll be like, it's not the videos that I've done, it's the videos that we made with the clients. It's a client transformation series because guys live vicariously through other guys who are in the field. The rejection reels, of course, are popular, but it's those zero to hero stories. So yeah,
More
point being,
relatable. Yeah.
100%. So, point being, if you're watching this, you get your footage filmed, and you're like, "Fuck me, I actually want to inspire a generation of people." Let us know. We'll put you on the channel. Then you'll start getting recognized in the streets, and it's like, yeah, cool. I'm solidifying my name into superstardom in the day game industry. There's no obligation to do that, but if you do want to inspire, then that's also available too. Yeah, but yeah, like I say, we should be charging, I would say, at least double for what we're offering. The price will increase as well in the future. So if you're watching the live stream now, then take action and take advantage of the advantage while you still have the advantage, because it's only 595 quid. 595 quid with a £45 discount for the first guy who takes action. Like, you're not going to get this opportunity anywhere else. That's why I've termed it the most unique coaching experience available. You're getting my expertise, but more importantly, you're getting over 14 years of expertise from this man here. I think just what would be useful though is, can you just tell the guys briefly about your story, like where you started? Because obviously at one point in your life you were a beginner as well. Like you were
Oh
there
yeah.
when the whole thing started, and you were basically like, creating the industry whilst also learning yourself. So yeah, can you tell the guys about maybe like just your origin story?
Yeah, sure. And then remind me, I've got a question for you as well, which I think it'll also be quite interesting for the guys. So yeah, just do remind me about that
All right,
afterwards.
I'll bookmark it. If someone's in the chat,
Like,
just put
write it on the
ask
notepad
question.
event.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Ask Daniel and remind Daniel that he needs to ask a question.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I mean, I got into the world of dating and pickup back in 2009, especially when it was during the time when it was cool and trendy to certainly be in this industry. And prior to when I was 21 years old, so I mean, we are going back a long time now. I was ridiculously shy, scared to leave the bedroom, kind of shy. I used to spend all my time literally just playing on the PlayStation. It was the easy alternative, and in a way, a sense of escapism from actually meeting people and whatnot. And I've made some new friends and stuff, and they introduced me to Neil Strauss's book The Game, which obviously a lot of people have kind of heard of, and usually how they got involved in the industry themselves. But about a month later, after being introduced to the book and reading it and using the stuff, going out to like bars and clubs and stuff, and using the things I'd learned, I had miraculously somehow landed myself a job as an intern at one of the largest pickup companies at the time, which was called PUA Training. And whilst I was there, I had essentially had my own Neil Strauss experience. So I got on so well with so many coaches that were working there, and there was such a range of different coaches, and certainly big names that you would have definitely have heard of, even to this day. And they took me under their wing, and I had just accelerated all of my experiences. And I remember I'd had my at the age of 21, I'd had my first kiss. I'd lost my virginity, and the second and third girls that I'd ever slept with was a threesome. So talk about like this acceleration very, very quickly. But
Two
like
girls,
with most,
two girls or two guys?
two girls. You're so disappointed there, but no.
Neil Strauss and Mystery.
Oh, could you imagine that? That'd be a weird like rotation. Ooh, shivers there. But no. So I had then I'd worked at this company for about a year. Then I'd gone back to uni, and I was a dating coach at my university. I'd even written for a magazine as well. So I had, and which turned into like my own Dear Deirdre thing. I'll have to show you some photos because I had way more hair there, right, Kristian, and I look like I have an afro. It looks ridiculous. You'll laugh about it now, but you'll laugh even more when I show you the photo. But in the time that I was in it. I'd eventually I got to a point that I got too obsessed with doing pickup, and in a way it had actually then backfired for me because I actually was thinking 50 steps ahead before I was talking to women, and I couldn't talk to anyone. I'd actually completely hit a brick wall. I couldn't talk to anyone, and I struggled. I then took a sort of about 6 or 7 months away from just being around everything pickup based because they had all the online community stuff at the time online, and it wasn't really a healthy place, really, not just for me but for other people as well. So I took a break, mixed with normal people, had normal conversations, and that brought me back to normal again. And then a little after that, I was asked to start doing filming with some dating coaches, and I started working on their channel, started working on their content, and then they started blowing up. And then more dating coaches were hearing what I was doing, and they were like, "Yeah, yeah, can you do the same for me?" And it just rippled literally over the last decade, being able to create content that was genuinely helping guys to develop their confidence rather than it being this pickup-y related stuff that was just copy and paste over generation, and people weren't really developing into anything new. And yeah, and it just kind of brings me at least to present day where at least now I have sort of evolved the business into being able to help guys develop their confidence and really just break away from the whole pickup paradigm, because I do believe like every guy should experience doing day game. I do believe it should be a rite of passage in a way.
Mhm.
You know, I think that they should at least experience it once, but it is about doing this in a healthy manner rather than just obsessing and throwing yourself in and just, you know, becoming this really weird guy that you're just obsessed with pickup. I want you to be a normal, sociable, attractive guy who essentially has a good life and has women involved in it, and that women aren't just the circle or center of attention with it. So yeah, I think that's kind of the journey, really. You know, I've been through the highs and lows of it. I mean, okay, in summary, you know, certainly a fast forward. There's been way more things that have happened. Um, but yeah, I mean that's kind of been the journey,
And
really,
you've
that I've been on.
and you've also you've had relationships as well, right? Like you've had relationships with girls who you've met, like literally on the street, and
Yeah, yeah, I have.
it always annoys me whenever I'm like you'll. I mean, look, the comments is often just this weird place anyway. You go fucking things in, but like there seems to be this weird belief from guys where it's like, yeah, but you can't find like a quality girlfriend from, but
Oh,
it's
you
like
absolutely you
it's
can.
so
I've been in
100%.
relationships with some amazing women.
Right, and it's
Really,
like
really have.
it's this weird sort of this illusory belief that guys have got where it's like you're only going to meet a certain type of girl out and about, and it's like
No,
no. And I
you'll
think
meet your type of girl when you're out and about, and in fact, the kind of attitude that you have when you go out, you will a bit like with branding. You know, you'll get what you put out. So
mm,
if you're going out with the intention to actually find someone that you want to have a relationship with, you'll
mm,
be meeting women who are looking for that kind of thing as well. If you're going out because you want to just meet people who want to have a bit of fun,
mm,
then yeah, you'll absolutely you'll meet people with that. Now, it's not to say that then it's just oh well, there's one person fits in that box and one person fits in that. You'll get people who are in a bit of both. Like they want a relationship, but they also want a bit of fun as well.
mm,
But yeah, when you're going out, it's for me. I mean, my intention with going out and doing street approaching is that I want to have a relationship. You know,
mm,
so I'm not really much of a one these days. I wouldn't say I'm really much of like a one night stand kind of guy. I kind of like I have attraction for me is built if I'm having really good interactions with women. I'm having really good conversations, and the banter is there definitely that we can have more of that romance. Sod's law, I keep usually meeting people who aren't based in London, so of course they end up like disappearing, and there isn't the relationship thing that can form because of that. But
mm.
ultimately, yeah, when you're going out, it's you can find whatever you want when you're going out and about. Point being,
Yeah. What was the question that you wanted to ask?
oh yeah. So, what was your experience like when we'd filmed together and you watched your footage for the first time?
Fucking awful, man. Like I remember watching it back. 'Cause I remember we'd gone to a cafe Nero after we finished. We uploaded the footage, and then I gave you more money anyway. I paid you a little bit extra just because I was just delighted with the service that I received. I'm a big fan of like giving tips, like just like making like people feel valued because they made me feel valued. So that was I did that, and then I watched the footage back like when I was on the train. 'Cause I was living in Leeds at the time, and in my head I thought I was really good. Yeah, I thought, oh, I'm so good at this stuff. I thought, yeah, I'm gonna watch this footage back. I'm gonna be like absolute celebrity, like best to have ever done it. Only been doing it for 6 months, and I was like, ah, okay. We've certainly, and for me, I actually believed I had a lot of work to do, a lot, like from like the fashion side of thing, like the aesthetic side of thing. Like I was speaking too fast. I was way too high energy. You can look back on the old infields, like you can see it all, but yeah, my impression was, oh wow, like I had to really take a sledgehammer to my ego and realize I've got a lot of work to do. And I think that might be why guys may be resistant to having themselves filmed and watching themselves back, because basically they're scared of looking shit. They're scared of looking stupid, or they're almost it's ignorance is bliss sometimes, right?
Yeah,
So it's like if
yeah,
you're
that self-acceptance. Yeah.
yeah, so it's like if you're unaware of what you're doing wrong, sometimes it's easier to just sweep it under the rug and turn a blind eye to it. But like if you really want to accelerate your progress and really smash it out the park, then you need feedback. And for me, this is the best way to receive it because you're not just getting verbal feedback, you're getting visual feedback. And what's beautiful is that footage is yours to keep. And I would
Mm.
actually recommend that guys book in 2 of these sessions with us. Like we'll be able to cut you a deal if you do want to book in 2 sessions, but book in another one like 90 days after the first, or like 60 days, however you want to do it. So then you've actually got a point of reference to compare it to. It's like if you
Mm.
go into the gym, like take a photo today and then take another photo 60 days later whilst you've been training hard, and then you can actually see the progress. I think that would be super valuable. I just thought of this now, but I think that
Yeah.
would be valuable. So book in the first session and book in a second one. We'll give you a discount, like a 2-session deal. And then it also gives you a sense of accountability as well. Because if you know in 60 days you're going to be seeing Dan again, you're going to be having me analyze your approaches, then it's going to give you that kick up the arse. And like within a couple of months, you're going to be better than most guys are within a couple of years because you actually took the action that you need to take. You're able to drop your ego, realize that you're not as good as you think. Nobody is when they first start, and actually get the feedback that you need to succeed. So I think that would be super useful. But yeah, in answer to your question, I was absolutely horrified, mate. It was awful.
Yeah, but actually, it is good what you said there, and in fact, I think one of the other things that guys certainly do struggle with if they are going out and doing approaching is that there's usually never really any kind of aftercare once a guy has gone to like a coach, especially over all
100%.
these years.
Percent.
They've gone through a system and then they've come out of it, and then there's nothing that really holds them accountable to carry on to maintain that skill. And sadly, when people go back to their normal lives, it's very, very difficult to try and bring in the time to go out and about and do things. So absolutely, yeah, I think considering it, I'd even consider having these sessions almost like as an aftercare thing. So if, let's say, there are guys here that have actually worked with you or thinking about working with you, if they've spent that money, definitely consider going for the aftercare. So at least you can make sure, like over the coming months, you can maintain that skill that you've got. And then it's not to say that you go with it ongoing forever, but at least if you were to maybe do just sort of 2 sessions with me that sort of spread out over like 3 months, and then a session, so like 3 months maybe they after they've worked with you, they then do a filming to see where they're at, and then after they've got the feedback from you, another 3 months go by and they can then also see where they're at. After about 6 months, by that point you should have really ingrained that kind of routine or skill into your normal everyday life, which then be fantastic, that you don't have to be going on the street every single day to talk to people or doing it every weekend. You can go back to having a normal life, but no, if you're on your way to work and you see someone you like, go and talk to them. If you go into the gym, go and talk to them. If you're going shopping for food or hanging out with friends and stuff, you can go and talk to people. You can just ingrain that skill into your life, which is what really this industry should be, or what I would love it to kind of like reach. That that guys come in, they develop all the confidence that they need to be a better man, and then they can just carry on with their life without having to be like, yes, I have to meet women and stuff. But yeah, it's one thing if things are go quiet for you, but yeah, you don't need to be then like dedicating every single day to be going out, or like every weekend. I want to be hearing stories of like guys who have suddenly now booked themselves a holiday or an adventure somewhere with friends, and it just so happened that whilst they were away they saw someone they like and then they spoke to them.
Yeah.
That is what I would love it really to kind of get to.
Yeah, that's literally why I got into this as well. Like reps equal momentum. Momentum equals results, right? You need to put the reps in to start off with, like you just do. And like you said before, it is quality over quantity. There's no point in approaching girls who you're not massively into because there's not going to be any authenticity there. You're better off doing like 5 great approaches a
Yeah.
week compared to shit ones. You really are. But like
You'll also be quite
having that,
fast with the conversations
yeah,
as well, because you'll be like, I really don't know if I want that person's number, and she's going to feel it as well. I mean, women have got a very good sixth sense about them. There's no way of getting around that. So if you're not really interested in her, she's gonna feel that you're not really interested in her. Whereas if you are talking to women that you are really interested in, and you're clearly putting the effort into trying to get to know them and find out more about them, yeah, why wouldn't it go well?
Yeah.
You know?
And yeah, like that was why I wanted to get into it. It was a case of, okay, I understand that there is a time investment and also a monetary investment as well. Like I was paying you for the filming sessions like back in the day when I started. I knew there was a time and a monetary investment as well, but I knew like realistically I'm always going to make more money. I'm not going to get my time back. I wanted to get this skill set down early. I was 23 when I started. It's not to say if you're like in your late 30s you can't start. Of course you fucking can. Like that's the whole point of getting
Any age,
yeah,
literally any age. Yeah.
but and I think that's what makes the feedback more valuable. I actually think the older you are, the more important it is for you to get feedback because you just don't have as much time to play with as a 21-year-old. It's just fact. So I think even if you've not been doing it for a long time, or if you've never done it before, or you maybe been in the game for a while, just getting that feedback is important. But I think for me, a big part of my coaching philosophy is network. Like you mentioned, the aftercare stuff, and as soon as I work with guys, as far as I'm concerned, we're friends for life. Like I've got a WhatsApp group that I put my clients into. It's a beautiful accountability network, and like I say to my guys, that wherever I go in the world, there's always an open invitation for you to join me. Like I just got back from Krakow, and I had so many guys who had coach who literally flew over to come and spend
Really?
time with me. Yeah, which is just beautiful. It's this open invitation, which I don't see from anyone else. Very much it's a case of gives you money, maybe you'll get results, maybe you won't, on to the next client. Just very mercenary way of doing it. It's just like, next one, next one, next one. But I really do think that it's immersion mixed with accountability that gets you results. You have this immersion period, you can do it all in a day with Dan, get the film in and send it over to me. And then having that accountability in place as well. Like if you've got a session booked in with Dan a month from now or 2 months from now, then it's like if you want to become fluent in French. Like if someone said to me, Kristian, you need to become fluent in French. Okay, maybe I will, maybe I won't. If someone said to me, Kristian, you've got a year to become fluent in French. Okay, now I've got a level of accountability. If someone says to me, Kristian, you've got 2 weeks to become fluent in French, otherwise I'm going to shoot you in the face. Now I've got accountability. I've also got like a more of a condensed time period to actually see that through. So yeah, the fact you've got 4 hours with Dan, you're going to get more done in 4 hours than you would in 4 months because you've got that. They're intense days as well. It's good intensity. Like you don't even have time to think about being scared. It's like, right, let's go, let's hit it. And then yeah, it's just a fun experience.
Yeah, and I try and I would make sure anyway that when we're going out together that I can try and make it as stress free as possible because of course it is going to be kind of daunting and scary if you're going to be meeting me who you've probably never met before, and
Yeah,
then
he's
we're
like
going
he's
to
like
be walking around.
8'2", man, 8'2". This guy, so scary, so
Can you imagine
intimidating.
that? That would be me, like having like boxes strapped to the bottom of each of my feet to reach that. But more importantly, if you get guys who are going to be shy, especially, I think what can be really scary is when you've got a camera on you, and then and I'm sure maybe you can probably explain this about what it was like when you were being filmed
Mm-hmm.
and kind of like trying to not think about the camera whilst you're going into the interactions because it's a little bit scary. Right? You're thinking like, oh shit, what if I get caught and I'm being
Yeah,
filmed here and
yeah,
this and that.
yeah.
But it's up
You're
to then for you to not worry about that and for me to kind of worry about. And in fact, if it's private content as well, it's even easier to film stuff because I don't have to worry too much about being as discreet as I would do normally as well.
Yeah, and it's bizarre as well. Like we've been filming together for 3 years, and we've never encountered any issues. Like you're so discreet. You're like a ninja. That because guys will often ask me like when I'm coaching guys like. How do you actually make the infield footage? Like, surely the girls can just see the camera. No, they don't. They literally don't. And I appreciate that you're like when I started filming, yeah, 100%, you are conscious of the camera. You just are. But after you've done a couple of approaches, it's absolutely fine. You don't even remember that it's there. And the beauty, like the equipment, I think the equipment that we actually use, because it's so discreet. Like you've literally got like a little lapel mic. It's like a little black dot here that to be honest, you could even wear a t-shirt with nothing over the top and they wouldn't see it. It's so discreet. But yeah, definitely for guys who are watching this and maybe like, do you know what? I really want to do it, but I'm scared. Like, what if the girls see the mics? What if they know we're filming? Like, I mean, just from my experience anyway, I've been doing it for 3 years now. You've been doing it for 14 years.
Yeah. Well, you know what? So if it puts even more emphasis on how uncommon it is to be caught, I think over the last 14 years, I think only about 4 times as
wow.
I think that the situation has played out where the camera has been seen, and that's usually been because of when I've worked with a coach, the way and how they approached the girl and the conversation that they had was just so poor that the girl was just looking around, and then she was like, "Oh, there's a camera over there." So yeah, but other than that, I've never really been caught. In fact, actually, I think the funniest approach that I've filmed has actually been with you, because in regards to like the proximity of how close I've been.
Oh, I
Do
think
you
I know
remember
the one you're talking about. I
when we
think,
were in near Parliament,
yeah,
and
it's a Russian girl where you're literally stood
by the
behind her.
traffic lights, and you were literally, and it was almost like we were standing in a three. I was
I
so
remember.
close, and I had to point the camera like literally upwards because of just how near I was. I couldn't like keep it steady or focus in and out. I had to literally just tilt the camera upwards and look like I was lost by going on Google Maps on my phone. It was but I mean, but if anything, it just shows like, if you create this bubble
Mm,
or if you're having a conversation with someone, you do create this bubble,
yeah.
and everything else just kind of fades out around you. And as long as you're doing that, I can be standing literally wherever. I mean, I could be rappelling down like Mission Impossible style above you, and I still probably wouldn't be seen. So that just shows, or I hope that at least just sort of shows, like, with how few times the camera has been seen. As long as you're holding someone's attention, then that's all you really need to worry about. You don't really need to worry about the camera. You don't need to worry about me.
Mhm.
I will always be at a distance. I can hear you because I've got headphones in anyway, so I can listen to the interaction as it's playing out. I could be like literally on the other side of the street or like
That's
halfway
true.
down the road
That's very
and
true. You've got
zoomed
radius.
in
You've got
watching you.
radius. You've got radius on that thing. But yeah, I mean that definitely shouldn't be an issue for guys. Hopefully, we've quashed that issue. But it's another. I think it's just another way of your mind try to keep you safe. It's like, oh yeah, I really want to do it, but what if I get busted? It's not going to happen. So it's just
It's a
like,
comfort zone, and there's the limiting belief of it, which is absolutely acceptable, especially if these are guys who might then, let's say if it was content for YouTube,
yeah,
then this would be where a guy would have the concerns of like, oh, what if people find it?
that's fair.
Well, they'll only find it if they were actively searching for it, and the only way they'll do that is if you tell them, or they are someone who's struggling with their own dating life and they're looking to get help themselves, and lo and behold, they stumble across you in a video, and they're like, "Oh my god, Bob has gone to a dating place. I
Oh,
really need
Bob.
it." So
Oh, Bob. I knew you were up to no good on your lunch break.
yeah,
But no, it's a good.
it happens. But other
It's a,
than that, I mean,
it's a good.
no one will
It's a
know.
good point. Like you said to me, like when we first started. I mean, I didn't care anyway, but you always like, look, the only person who's going to watch these videos are the people searching for them.
Yes.
But like we pre-framed at the start, the footage is for your eyes only. Like if
Yeah.
you really have a strong inclination to put your name out there and be known amongst the day game gods as one of the best to ever do it, then fine, we can put it out public, inspire guys, happy days. But I would say for the majority of the guys who are going to do these sessions, they're just going to want to keep it for themselves, and that's
Yeah.
absolutely fine. Like there's no pressure whatsoever. I think it takes a certain type of guy to be putting themselves straight out into the public domain.
Yeah,
But
you've
yeah,
got to
I
be
mean,
brave. You certainly got to be brave with that, and because there is a level of bravery, especially when you're doing something that's quite vulnerable for a lot of people as well.
mhm,
A lot of guys don't want to admit that their dating lives are really poor. They also don't want to admit that their conversation skills and just how they interact with people are really poor.
mhm,
And it's why I've even said to people like, look, if you were to ever consider putting content out, work on yourself first, work on bringing your skill up first before you even get to that stage. You need to be able to look at your own footage and go, you know what, I'm really pleased with that, but I'm going to just check with someone else and make sure that they're really pleased with it, because you don't want to be too biased and say like, oh, I'm amazing, and then you just find you can't even have a conversation with someone and it looks ridiculous. In fact, a client. Hopefully, he's not watching it. Although saying that, he is actually blind. But he, I should laugh about it. But he,
He's listening to it.
probably. But he would go off and do approaches, and actually, amazingly, he would have like a friend or a wing of his who would walk him into interactions, and then he would basically stop the girl and say, "Excuse me, my friend has something to say to you," and then he would walk off and leave, my blind client talking to the girl. And at first you think the bravery of that, I have huge respect for the guy, but because he was then using like old school pickup lines that just weren't really calibrated, like he was just saying a line after line after line that didn't really lead into the next thing, had no flow to it, no relevance to the conversation. The girls were just sort of standing there bewildered, and then eventually walking off, and he's still standing there, like talking to midair. And and you look at, and I've had to like sort of say that I don't think you should be putting content out just
Oh
yet.
man.
It's true story. I wish I could make something like that, but it's true story. But
he's stood in Leicester Square. The girl is gone. He's like, who lies
oh,
more, men or
everywhere.
women?
Like I remember there was one on the bridge in South Bank, and he was just talking like saying more like pick up, what do you think of this? And his friend was just sort of saying, I was like, you've got to go and get it. He's talking to the air here. You can't. You can't do that. It was funny. Don't get me wrong. It was fine. I can laugh about it now, but at the time
I'm
you
crying.
don't know whether to laugh or cry because he's just talking. He's talking to the air.
Where's his footage at? Oh,
I think I've still got some, but I can't. I couldn't share that. But
oh,
I wonder if anything,
oh.
there are worse things that have certainly happened to what guys, especially with what they experience. But if if guys were to even consider the idea of putting content out,
Yeah.
you've got to watch what you look like first. Okay, in my client's sense, he'd only be able to listen, but you've got to watch and just see yourself from this third person perspective and see
Yeah.
how you act, how you portray yourself, and are you happy with that? Are the reactions that you're getting from the women acceptable or respectable as well? You don't want to just put stuff out for the sake of it. And it's good then also to get feedback from your peers, or certainly again like from yourself with this service, being able to have then an expert say, no, you need to go and work on yourself a little bit more, or someone saying like, you know what, you've done a great job here. I just tweaked this and this, but you know what, if you do another session in 3 months time, I can review it, and if you can work on these particular things, I think you've ticked all the boxes, and then that's great. So yeah, again, having that third person perspective, or having, even whether that be yourself or certainly having someone else who is a professional looking at your content and going like, okay, right, here's what you're doing right, here's what you're doing wrong, here's what I would recommend that you end up making changes wise, then yeah, you're going to get the results. And depending on what those results look like for you, whether you're looking to actually get more dates or if you're trying to look to go on a relationship, it all matters. All of these things lead to those particular outcomes that you're striving towards.
Yeah, and I think as well, like that's what we want to do. Like we want to get to know you, like what you actually want, because there
Yeah.
is I think there is definitely a stigma in this industry where I do think the majority of guys, this just comes from personal experience of guys who I've worked with, like when you really sit down with them and you really like find out like what they actually want, the majority do just want relationships. Like the majority do just want
90+% want relationships, and I can 100% vouch for that. When I have met tens of thousands of guys literally over the last 14 years, most want relationships. Some they just want to sleep around, and then you get others who want relationships, but because they found that newfound confidence, they want to just meet and date people a little bit, but they ultimately come back to wanting to have a relationship.
Yeah, and that's why I've always found toxic about this industry, whereby it's always tried to promote the perpetual player, where it's almost like guys feel bad for wanting the relationship. And it's like just being able to actually be honest with yourself and honest with us as well. It's like if a guy says to me, Christian, mate, like I literally just want to find a girlfriend. Like, I just want to find like a life partner, someone that I can do life with, explore the world with, like have that actual like, romance and intimacy with, then that's a beautiful thing. But I do feel as though it's almost been marketed in a way where it's always like try to brainwash guys into believing it's always about the next one, the next one, the next one. When
it's the pickup paradigm, and as I say, it's not healthy when if that is literally your only focus on living is just to sleep with women, because you miss out on the finer things in life as well. And I've seen guys lose friends, family, jobs, social lives, and so on, just because they are focusing on only meeting women. You've got to find that balance with doing stuff, or you've got to throw yourself into doing pickup, but have an exit strategy to it as well. Don't, if you're going to commit to it for like 3 months, 6 months, or a year, brilliant. Do it, treat it as like a sabbatical, and respect that you are going to exit it and you're going to go back to normal life afterwards. That I think is the, if guys are going to do it, that would be the healthy way. Dedicate a period of time, throw yourself in, and then exit, go back to normal. Remember, you've got friends, family, loved ones, etc. You've got social life, you've got hobbies and things to do. Do that.
yeah,
Something if you're a multi-millionaire, but otherwise you've got to go back to normal.
yeah, and I think as well, like almost knowing when to cash in. Like, let's say you've been doing this for 2 years and you have met like a really good girl who ticks all of your boxes. Like, because you've told me about this, where it's almost like guys are then throwing away that opportunity for the
Yeah,
for then the potential of something. It's like going to the blackjack table and getting 21, and then literally getting 21 and being like, yeah, but there could be another 21 and another 21, but actually knowing like when to actually call it a day and be like, do you know what, this is good, like this is exactly what I wanted.
Yeah, no, I know definitely with quite a few guys, even coaches, who have met the most amazing women, but then they've given it up just because the industry told them, like, no, you have to, meet the next girl. And and I've actually, and I've had to counsel coaches and give them dating advice as well, and they can feel very, very lost. So, remember, if you are going to do day game, you've got to make sure that you have an idea of what your goal or outcome is that you want from it. And if you want, and don't worry, it can change as time goes on. But if you want a relationship, if you and keeping that in mind, if you then do meet someone who is amazing, consider dating them, consider actually having a relationship. Don't worry, girls are still going to be walking around on the street. If you decided, actually, I don't want to be in a relationship anymore, you'll always have opportunities. There are opportunities everywhere, but don't lose out on really great things for yourself just because the industry or other guys have persuaded you to just keep to the single life. From what I understand, that's what the red pill is, right? They guys suggest you have to stay single, or being single is like the best thing. I can't
I
keep
think
track with all these pill colours.
yeah, well, yeah, I think the blue pill is just be nice, the red pill is just be confident, the black pill is like just be tall and handsome. That's basically like the elevator pitch. The elevator pitch for. I think there's more pills as well. I'm not sure. Like the rainbow pill is probably like for the LGBT community, but
it's like having a packet of Skittles almost at this point. There'll be a colour for everything.
But there is the whole like men go their own way movement, where it's like, no, ignore women, go your own way, which is basically just like a horseshit movement, because we need women in our lives. We need that beautiful, nurturing, feminine energy. Everything that guys do is realistically to bring women and fulfill their biological imperative of procreating. But I think deeper than that, on a spiritual level, like we are better when we're together, right? There's this beautiful harmony between the masculine and the feminine. I think like going your own way, for me, that's a declaration of giving up. It's like, oh, well, I'm not going to get anything. I've accepted my lot in life. I'm just going to pretend I don't care and just go this way. It's like, I really want to go to Lanzarote, but I can't go there. So I'm just going to fucking go Timbuktu instead, because it doesn't make any sense. Like, you have to be honest with yourself and be like, no, you do want that. You just don't think you can get it right now. And that's okay. Like, we can help you work with that. I actually feel as though you deserve it as well. I just wanted to ask you, have you like lost yourself in this industry?
Oh, of course. Like I say, I mean, there was one point I got so obsessed with the world of pickup. I think this must have been like 2012, 2013. So we're still going back like a decade ago. But I mean, I was obsessed with the idea of the perfect approach.
Mm.
Which is probably where I get the understanding of like how to break down videos into more bite-sized chunks where like a video is just focusing on this and just or focusing on the approach or focusing on just the number and stuff. I mean, I was obsessed with it, and it made me go very, very weird because I was trying to like game everyone. I
Mm.
was thinking like every conversation I was having was a strategy,
Mm.
and that's not normal. And even the language or the terminology that the world of pickup uses isn't healthy either. Like when you're going around, when I mean back in the day you'd end up saying like, oh yeah, you got a neg a girl, there's two targets there, and but that strategy, you'd expect that in the army. You don't, not when you're going on the street to talk to people
Mm.
or going to bars and clubs and stuff. You just don't do that. But I got to a point where I just found I was so overthinking about like, right, how am I going to hold my eye contact with them? What direction and angle am I going to go in to stop the girls? And I overcomplicated it. And I think there's also the danger as well when guys watch too many theory videos and too much new terminology keeps on coming in, that it can overcomplicate something that is actually really simple. And also that can build anxiety because if you're watching stuff that's trying to suggest this perfectionism of having an interaction or conversation, then it's going to stress you out even more, especially if you're not a confident guy and you're going to be like, "Oh, I can't have conversations like that. Oh, I must be really bad at conversations. Oh, I'm such a loser or something." And then you'll go out and start your interactions and you'll create this perpetuating cycle of, oh, I'm a loser, so I'm going to have a bad interaction. You'll talk to a girl, you'll have a bad interaction, and then you'll walk away going, oh, I'm such a loser. And then the cycle just starts again. So that, in fact, is actually a danger if you are going out and doing solo on your own. If you haven't got that belief or confidence in yourself, like, you know what, I am a good guy. I have got some great things going on in my life, and I want to bring women into my world. Rather than if a girl ends up saying like, "Oh, what do you do?" and you haven't got an answer because you quit your job and stuff, because all you're doing now is just spending all your time talking to girls on the street, and
Yeah.
you have to like try and make up an answer. I mean, that's ridiculous. But what a girl is going to love is if she says, like, "Oh, well, what do you do?" And you can say, "Oh, well, you know what? I travel the world and I do this and that," or you know what? Last week I was in this country and stuff. There's something that creates a much more intrigue and mystery about a person,
Mhm.
and creates many more beautiful conversations that aren't planned or scripted, and you're not having a strategy with going in. All you need to know is just the fundamentals of what builds attraction and what you need to be able to demonstrate that, especially with like your masculine energy, which you're definitely very good at. I know I know at some point, I mean, I want to interview you for my podcast, and definitely I'd love the topic for that to be about masculinity, because you're, well, I'll use the word frame, but I don't like using the word frame. But I mean, your frame when you are talking to women on the street, or even when I filmed you on like a couple of your dates, you hold this very masculine way about you, which I think is certainly something that Northerners get as opposed to Londoners. I think you're kind of taught more about the masculine and feminine, or men are very much men and women are very much women up north.
It's
So
it's a harsher environment as well. I think
yeah,
like it's just harsher. Do you know what I mean? Like it's just, yeah, like the it's just more of like a working class place up north, and like it does make a man out of you. But like, yeah, I think because what I've found as well, I'm basically just like thinking out loud here, but the discussions I've had with like a lot of my recent clients where they've come away from the experience with me and they're like, the day game was such like a small part of what I've got out of this.
mm,
Like really what I've helped them transform into is better men. And for me, I've always said to guys, this goes deeper than day game. Learn day game, don't become a day gamer. And day game should be a complement to an already abundant lifestyle. But
yeah,
what I've really started to get now from feedback from yourself right now, from guys like clients who I've worked with, just friends as well, is like, I understand now that what I offer and what I teach, it's this holistic masculine skill set of essentially how to become a more dominant masculine man in the modern world.
yeah,
So
yeah,
I think for me going forward, what I'm going to do is I'm going to transform what I currently offer and start running these Renaissance retreats. Because I'm going to Mexico in November, so I'm going there for like a month long fight retreat to basically like
oh
go
no,
from like from going from like masculine man to hyper masculine man. Come back
Yeah,
with
then
like
you'll be coming back to London with like a sombrero and maracas and stuff, and you'll be
it's like
going
20,
up to women, maybe with like a curly moustache as well, just to add to it.
20-inch biceps. But like the whole point is like these Renaissance retreats, I want them to be this like all-encompassing experience. Like guys can come along, meet other like-minded guys as well, because the importance of network, but like just really come away from that experience feeling as though they've leveled up holistically across the board. And I think that's what for me, that's what my sort of direction is now. And it's another reason why I've wanted to introduce these sessions, to give guys a taste of what it's like to be part of this movement, this network of like-minded guys, to work with me, to work with yourself, to get the feedback. I think it's a beautiful thing that's being created. And like I say, like I wouldn't be doing this if it wasn't for you, and I wouldn't be as good at the skill set if it hadn't been for you. I wouldn't have done YouTube. Like, all this stuff, it's down to you. So that's why I wanted to put these things out as well, to give guys a treatment that I've had. And hopefully as well, like after working with us, guys then start to think differently about their entire lives. Because this is literally what happens with guys. Like the guys who are like the most radically ambitious, they go away from this experience and they start to just think about their life differently. They're like, maybe I could change my job. Maybe I could start living in an international lifestyle. Maybe I could start going after what I want rather than settling for what I think I can get. Where else am I playing it safe in my life? Like really just like taking a microscope to their whole existence, and like within the space of a couple of months, a year, completely transformed individuals. So I've often said to people that day game is almost a catalyst for the rest of your life. You don't get stuck here. And that's why I think these Renaissance days, they're an experience as much as anything else. They're really there to hold a mirror up to you, to show you where you're at in the current moment. And then if you're to do another session in the future, you can then see the progression for yourself. But yeah, I like what this has become. It's almost become a springboard for guys to hop on, and then they go and transform themselves in other areas. And I think that's beautiful. I think that's what this should be. Like you said, it's a rite of passage. You know, we don't have to go into the wilderness for 40 days and 40 nights and return a man. So I think we do almost have to forge our own path through the fires of adversity. I think this is a beautiful way of doing it.
Yeah. And if you're going to commit to doing something like getting into doing day game, then you've got to consider a bit more of a long-term commitment for it. Just doing like a weekend training or just like a week or a month or something isn't going to be enough. Yes, you'll develop skills from that, but it's not enough for it to then carry through for the rest of your life. You have to still be actively doing stuff. So yeah, I kind of like the idea that this is also going to be aftercare for people, especially guys who have actually worked with you. I mean, what a great way then to make sure like over the coming months that they are maintaining that skill. It holds them accountable. They at least then and they can be their own judge, jury and executioner with it as well. If they're looking at the footage and going, my goodness, I need to step my own game up, what a great like motivation for you to say, you know what, I've spent all this money, I'm committed to working on this area of my life, I need to be doing this right. You know, otherwise it's like why bother in the first place? So, you know, if you're going to commit, then commit. You're doing this for the right reasons. You're certainly in safe hands anyway. You know, I want to normalize this idea of people doing day game or street approaching. I might even try and think of like a new title for it, so it doesn't sound so sort of gamey anyway. But I want this to be something that every guy at some point should consider. You know, I think there's too much of a stigma for men to actually go to dating coaches for help. You know, we're kind of almost told these days, like, no, you have to just, as a guy, no, you have to just accept where you are. But yeah, you know, a lot of women, there are dating coaches. And I know because I've got clients who teach women dating advice and stuff as well. So, you know, I like the idea that we can try and normalize this. We can show that, you know, that people come into working on their dating lives for the right reasons. You know, it's not just, you know, the whole sex sells thing that's portrayed online and certainly in media, that, you know, every guy should at least consider doing this. It should be treated no differently to if you wanted to work with a personal trainer and go into the gym. There should be no stigma whatsoever. And yeah, and if we can help guys to, you know, have the dating lives that they want, or certainly for me, I'd love to be able to help guys to find relationships and stuff. Then yeah, you're in safe hands, at least with me, and I can also break you out of that routine of just copying and pasting what a dating coach will say. Although I can see it in your body language as well. If someone's standing in a certain way that I know a coach stands, I know you're copying and pasting them. So I'll even stop you or point that out from you and say, no, 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 you tuck that foot back in, or you put those hands from behind your back and bring it out front and stuff.
The
So,
classic Torero like shoe circulation.
yeah, well,
Like,
I mean, bear in mind, I've worked at this point now with like 80 plus dating coaches, many that guys would have heard of, many that they wouldn't have heard of, probably because I've told them, I think you're crap. I don't think you should be a coach. I don't think guys are in safe hands with it. I've been very, very blunt with people because this industry means a lot to me and I want people to get results. It certainly changed my life and I love being able to help other people with theirs as well. And, I think it's too easy for people to come in and claim that they're coaches and then guys don't get the service that they deserve, and then they're even more lost afterwards after they've spent their life savings on someone and they just haven't got anything to show for it.
no, that's fair. I think I'll just sweep up the questions in the chat. If there's I think there was, how about, so this is a question. How about just approaching off indicators of interest? Would that be a more efficient way to do it? What are the ways to detect these? I would actually say, yeah. So basically, you're talking about the difference between cold approaching and warm approaching. So warm approaching is where you approach someone
who's seen you and someone who hasn't seen you.
Yeah, basically, yeah. So I think that, so when I first started, I wasn't getting any signals of interest whatsoever. Like I really had to dedicate time to working on myself to become more aesthetically pleasing. So now when I walk out the door, I am getting those looks. And yes, warm approaching is a far more efficient way of doing it, 1,000,000%. But you don't want to be going out there and being dependent and almost like, yeah, being dependent on forcing like looks and almost being like, oh, but
stare people down, right?
right, like, oh, did she look at me or did she not? Like, if you see the girl of your dreams, you should be able to go over. Like, I believe any self-respecting man should be able to go over to a woman who he's attracted to without needing 10 pints of lager down in first. But yeah, 1,000,000%, warm approaching is the more efficient way. But to make warm approaching effective, you do need to put the reps in holistically on yourself. Yep. So fitness and fashion are the two easiest areas. So like train hard at the gym 4 times a week and get yourself a personal stylist to just take care of the fashion element. Making those 2 tweaks, like there's no excuse. There's no excuse for any guy to be out of shape and to dress terribly. Like, there is no excuse in this world whatsoever. It's got nothing to do with genetics. You don't have to go to like an expensive gym or buy expensive clothes. Like, you, by training hard, you are going to get a better body, right? It's not about like looking like you just come off the cover of Men's Health or look like you come off Paris Fashion Week. No, that's not the thing. But you can look like the best version of you by actually making sure that you are doing the basics. I do think that's basic now. There's no way you're going to get results from this if you are out of shape, you've got like a beer belly, and you dress horrifically. So yeah, 1,000,000% warm. Also, as well, just a final thing I'll say before you give your thoughts, like changing up your location as well. Like, for example, like if you're when I was in Brazil, for example, I'm getting far more looks in Brazil because I'm more rare in that particular marketplace. You are
like a Pokemon.
This figure of curiosity. Yeah, exactly. So like your environment, if you're going around Manchester and you look like an average guy in Manchester, you're not wickedly differentiating yourself that much. You're probably not going to get as many looks compared to, like, for example, I know black guys who go to Sweden. Like, they absolutely kill it out there because they're more of a rare commodity. So yeah, warm approaching, it's an efficient way of doing it. To actually make it happen, you do need to elevate your value because, like, realistically, you're not going to get looks if you look like an absolute like hog. And yeah, like, but you still need to be able to cold approach regardless. You can't be dependent on just getting looks in order to go over to people.
Yeah, and certainly, so definitely the exotic factor is what can certainly encourage that better indicator of interest anyway. As you say, if you're in a different environment, especially if it's like a different country, of course, if you don't look like someone who's from that country, then you are going to stand out, and people like that kind of exoticness. It's kind of why I think in London we like Europeans or people that are abroad, and why Londoners don't usually tend to go for Londoners, because there is just something that's a bit more mysterious and interesting about dating someone from another place.
Another thing. Go on.
Oh, it's exactly. And another thing as well is with what you mentioned with like the fashion and the look and stuff. The big emphasis there is that first impressions matter. If you're going out dressed in like a tracksuit, but you're going to places where people dress very sophisticatedly,
Mm.
or very smart, or whatever, or casual, then you know you're not going to be welcomed with open arms. If you're stopping people are going to think you're going to mug them. But then if you probably go to places where maybe everyone's walking around in tracksuits, then absolutely you're going to fit a bit more into society with that, and it's going to be deemed a bit more of a norm. So, as you say, with like the fashion, you don't have to be spending a crazy amount of money on fashion. There's so many affordable places to go to, but it is at least just dressing in a way that just fits you into society. Like, you don't need to be buying a suit and going out every time in a suit. I mean, hell, I don't know if you've ever done it, walking around for like 10 hours in a suit all day. I mean, you're sweaty as hell. You end up ruining usually the trousers between your thighs, and you just end up like you're like literally melting underneath a blazer. But what you can be doing is just be wearing like Chelsea boots, jeans, nice fitted t-shirt, maybe like a jacket or a bomber jacket or something, but just something then that at least you look a bit more presentable. So definitely with that. And with the question in regards to with the indicators of interest of cold approach or warm approach, I mean, obviously with warm approaches, you're going to get ideally you're going to get a better opportunity to have a conversation with someone. If they've looked at you and you've looked at them and smiled, then that the conversation, you don't know what's going to happen, but at least you do know that you've kind of got that welcoming opportunity to go and say something. But would I rely just on that? No, because I know definitely in the past when I've worked with coaches who have just been reliant on that, we've walked around for hours. And as much as, I don't mind being paid to just have someone keep me company, at the end of the day, if I'm working with someone and they're paying for a service, you've got to be talking to everyone. And also, there's a good development in skill if you're talking to people who kind of give you that welcoming look, and also those that haven't noticed you, or they're doing their own thing, or they're in their own world as they're going about their everyday life, and you're going over to talk to them. And in fact, I'd probably even say it's really good to do both, simply because the more cold approaches you do, it's going to make the warm approaches even better, because you're going to be so prepped and ready to have a conversation with someone that you just feel that same frequency of, or that same vibe of. And you're very likely then to get even better results than just to rely on just sort of one or the other. So yeah, you've got to do both. 100% you've got to do both, because I think you'll find that when you do go out, however long in the day it is, you're going to see more cold approach scenarios than you are
Mm.
of warm approach scenarios. Unless, yeah, again, you are going out and you're dressing to impress, and you are standing out. Even in London, like, if you really dress well, then you will get looks from people. Maybe not from everyone, depending on what your genetics is like, but if you can at least make yourself just stand out a little bit, then yeah, you're going to get people look at you, and you can create that. But I wouldn't just rely on the warm approaches with that. You've got to do both.
Yeah, like you say with the genetics thing, not every person's going to be into you. Do you know what I mean? Like, people have got their own taste. Like, we've got our own taste. Girls have got their own taste. Even your best just won't be enough for some, right? But that shouldn't debilitate you. It shouldn't demotivate you. It's just a fact of life. Like, even your best just won't be enough for some. But just because you won't get some doesn't mean that you won't get any. And the more you level up your life across the board, the more of those looks you're going to get. But I actually think it's unrealistic for guys who are watching this to think that they're going to be warm approaching before they've done any cold approaching. You're just not going to do it. If you've never cold approached, you're not going to be able to act on those looks, because you don't know how to actually approach. So that's why I always find it frustrating when guys are like, oh yeah, I just want to do, they want to like do the whole lifestyle integration immediately. It's like, no, I'll just do it whenever I see someone. Like, when I'm coming back from the gym, then I'll do it. No, you won't, because you've not put enough reps in. You haven't give yourself evidence that you can actually approach. So you're going to leave opportunities on the table simply because you've not put the reps in. Because with the warm approaching, yeah, you're basically able to experience success in advance, but you're gonna experience failure in the moment if you don't know how to actually do the thing. So yeah, you need to be able to call the. Like, I wasn't warm approaching anybody until, well, first of all, because I wasn't getting any looks when I first started. That was beside the point. But like, I wouldn't be able to warm approach if it hadn't been for all of the reps that I put in with cold approaching. So yeah, I think it's unrealistic to think you're going to be warm approaching before cold approaching.
Yeah, and as well, I would say warm approaches happen as a byproduct of you building your confidence and how you present yourself when you're out and about. So when you get more of a presence, so when that confidence builds, and women kind of get that sense of that kind of masculine energy that you're putting out, that's usually where like the indicators of interest or the warmer approaches will happen, because suddenly now you're being seen as someone that they are attracted to. And what I don't think guys are aware of is that women have a much wider peripheral vision than what guys do, which is usually why when you're looking at a girl, you tend to get caught out if you're like blatantly staring at her and you don't mean to be staring at her. Whereas women can actually look at you without looking at you. They can check you out without holding that eye contact, which is fascinating. It's a biological thing. But it means if they're looking at you, they are really interested in you. They are looking at you. So that's definitely where it is a good indication to go over and say something, because if she's literally put her eyes on you, then that is saying something, that she is interested or curious at the very least, of like, who's this guy who's walking by. And it's kind of why when guys do go to other countries, especially in like South America, I think I've some reason I seem to be bombarded with videos of this, but where like guys are like filming themselves just walking down the street, and they just literally like film women's reactions just looking at this sort of like guy who's clearly not from South America, and how they're just like holding their gaze and they're smiling. They're curious, and they're also just giving that invitation of like, oh hi, you can come and talk to me if you want. So yeah, I think that answers the question anyway.
Yeah, no, definitely. It's like what we said at the start, like reps equal momentum, momentum equals results. When you've got momentum behind you, your energy becomes magnetic, and then women can pick up on that straight away, and you feel more confident. Then you're experiencing success in advance, but that only comes if you've actually put in the reps with cold approach. So definitely. So the final couple of questions. So one guy says, I have 1 week holiday. He can't do game. I've got fear that I'm going to lose my flow. What can I do not to lose my approach, game, and vibe? I mean, I'll just kick off, and I'll probably say to you, enjoy your holiday, mate. Like, enjoy your holiday.
You're overthinking it. There's nothing to worry. You are okay how you are. It's not like if you don't talk to women on the street for a day, suddenly you're back to square one again. There's certainly a misconception with this. If you're worried about just losing your flows, I can see the message. If you're worried about losing your flow, just be talking to people. It doesn't have to be massive conversations, but just talk to people. If you're going to the bar, ask the bartender, how's your day going? What's been the best cocktail that or the number one cocktail everyone's ordered so far today? Have you got a drink to recommend? What's your favorite drink? Just little things like that. That's it. Really, I think what guys worry about is, are they going to lose their conversation skills? Are they going to run out of content or ideas of things to say? And the answer is just carry on just talking to people. Just try and be creative, be curious. Like, I'll just ask people stuff. You could be walking past a shop and saying like, oh, I've got to say I really like that stuff that's on display. How much is that? I'm just curious. Oh great, I might come back here later. Oh, I'm on holiday at the moment, just having a really good time. Do you live here? Like, just have little conversations, and that's all that you need. You don't need to then be going up to people going like, oh hey baby, how are you doing? What's a girl like you doing in a place like this? You don't need to worry about like all of that. It's not necessary. So in summary, definitely for that, don't worry about losing your flow. Your flow's not going anywhere. You've still got your flow. It hasn't grown legs and gone for a walk. It's still part of you. Just enjoy your holiday and just have a good time. Talk to people, and especially if you've gone with like friends or family, carry on talking to them. Even that, it will still keep your flow. Just have a good time. That's all I'll say with that.
Definitely. And I would say as well, like just like accept the fact that, let's say you take a week off from cold approach, just accept the fact that when you do get back into it, yeah, you're gonna be a little bit rusty. It's absolutely fine. If I've not filmed with Dan for 3 months, like the first couple of days back filming, like I'm awful. I still need to find my flow. I still need to, just get back in the swing of things again as well. So like just give yourself permission to suck a little bit. It's absolutely fine. You can even use that in your conversations. Like you literally say to the first girl that you speak to after coming back from holiday, like, I've just been on holiday with my family. I'm feeling like a little bit socially resistant because I didn't really like speak to that many people. I was just with my family all the time, so I didn't get that much like social buzz. Like, so I thought I'd come over to you, put a smile on your face, just like owning your state and just being transparent with it. Like when you're able to just be transparent with what's on your mind, like if you're anxious to approach, or if you've run out of things to say, or you're not sure what to say next, you can literally just say it. Like just own it
Yeah.
in the conversation. Like, you know what, you've distracted me. You're looking too good today. I cannot remember what I was going to say next. Just drop me a number. We can continue the conversation again over my ties. Like, but you have the audacity and the boldness to do that. And again, that comes through reps. So doing a lot of this. But when you are going on a holiday, mate, enjoy your holiday and accept that when you do get back in a cold approach, yeah, you might be a little bit rusty, but that's absolutely fine. Right? Like Dan says, like you don't want to be putting so much pressure on yourself to be perfect. Like
Because it will create the anxiety again. It will create this like self-fulfilling prophecy, or this cycle of, oh, if I'm not doing this, I'm going to lose the skill. And then because you're not doing it, by putting the pressure on yourself, you're not going to do the skill, and it just feeds itself. But yeah, people, guys are more okay than they think they are, and it's certainly a lot less stressful than it needs to be as well. Really.
Yeah, and the final question is how to. That's a deep question. How to overcome addiction? So the guy's addicted to video games. So how would you recommend that he overcomes his addiction to playing video games?
Just start limiting how much you're playing. So you can't do the whole. I don't know what the
Cold
word is. Where
turkey.
yeah, you can't. That's it. Yeah, you can't go cold turkey on it and just be like, right, you know what? I'm
Hmm.
going to turn the console off for good. I won't go on it. That is only going to create this sort of rubber band effect where you're going to spring back and you're going to find you're just going to be addicted to it even more. So, depending on how often and how frequently you're playing, you have to just start weaning yourself off of it a little bit. So, if let's say you're doing it every day, let's say you're doing it like 7, 8 hours a day, maybe just try and limit it to 6 hours a day. So we're not stopping you from playing then every single day, but you are at least just reducing your time. And also they consider, what can I replace that time with to do something else? Could I do a workout? Could I do a meditation? Could I if I'm working for myself, is there something that I could do for my business? Is there some other hobbies or other events or things that I could do as well, just to fill in that time? And you have to just sort of slowly transition it, or maybe even just spending time with friends and stuff. Maybe that is the alternative. But yeah, depending on what kind of addiction level you've got with that, you just have to kind of wean yourself off of it slightly. Or it could be, rather than 7 days a week, do 6 days a week and be like, okay, I'm going to play these days, but this one day I have to do something else. Even if
Yeah.
I'm sitting there twiddling my thumbs, like, I have to do something else. But obviously, being proactive and distracting yourself, doing something that is going to just be, well, again, just something that's just healthy for you to do. That's the best alternative. And wean yourself over a couple of months, and then things will change. Or definitely going out doing street approaching. Even if you're like, right, okay, just an hour a day,
Mm.
I will do that. That's fine. It's better that I at least go out and just have a couple of conversations. We're not talking about ricocheting off of people, but just a couple of decent conversations, or even just compliments, and then I can come back to gaming, or gamify the system. Say, okay, I won't go on my games console until I talk to someone.
Yep.
Until I'm maybe given 3 compliments, then I can come back. I can sit in my comfort zone, sit playing on a game, and then I can do that. Or certainly with on the anxiety front or trauma front, I would even be questioning, like, okay, well, what is the reason that you feel like you have to be spending so much time playing on computer games? Don't get me wrong, every guy likes to sort of sit there on games consoles. I'm also enjoy sitting on my PlayStation as well, but there is also the acceptance of, like, the life can't revolve around that. An hour or two here and there, absolutely fine, because you've got more things to do in life. But yeah, you've got to. Just in regards to the trauma, because I went on a tangent there, but in regards to like the trauma stuff, what is the reason why you personally wants to sit and just play on games rather than doing other stuff that would be counted as more productive, and then potentially even like looking at actually working on those issues or traumas. If it's a case that you've got social anxiety, that you are scared to meet people, great. Just that acceptance just means, okay, right, if I'm going to overcome my addiction to playing games, I need to be spending time with people who's going to help me over that anxiety. So whether it be with a coach, whether it be just going to social events, maybe you need to find a better hobby, better friends even, then they are also going to be healthy alternatives where then you can go, okay, well, actually, I don't need to be playing games so much. I can cut my time by half just because I'm now doing other more sociable and more healthy things for myself. So yeah, that makes sense, at least with that.
Yeah, no, definitely. I've got 20% battery, so I'll fire off this final question and then we'll call it a day. I'm happy to take this one. Hey, is Tinder Gold necessary and worth it? Is the free version good enough? Damien, mate, to you, I'd say get off your ass, stop swiping on the screen, and go out and talk to people in real life. Like this, I mean, this channel is not about online dating anyway. Is it worth it? Fuck no. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. Like, unless you've got a really high SMV and you've got great photos and you are in that upper echelon of guys, for me, you're wasting your time, you're wasting your money. Also, dating apps make you lazy as well. Like, even if you are getting like quote unquote results, maybe you're getting like, I don't know, like one date a week with some bang average girl, like you're a slave to the screen. You really are. It's this dopamine addiction where you're constantly checking your phone. Oh, has Susie responded to me? Oh, what's Lauren doing? Oh, my picture's good enough. Like, you're just in this toxic environment, and you're not in the real world anymore. You need to. For me, that's why cold approach is one of this like almost like this dying art form where if you can actually become good at it now in the modern world, it's basically a cheat code into the sexual marketplace. Because whilst every other guy pisses the time away swiping on a screen or settling for low quality girls in grotty nightclubs, you put yourself in the rarefied realm of men who actually have the balls to go straight to the source and be like, listen, I don't use dating apps, I don't agree with them. Because if you say that sort of thing as well, like if you say that like I don't agree with dating apps, the amount of respect you get from the girls and also the amount of agreement you get from them as well, where they're like, oh, finally someone who's not like, addicted to this dopamine rush of just meeting strangers or whatever. Like, depending on how old you are, wherever you're at in your life, anybody watching this as well, delete all of your dating apps. And then it gives you this accountability to actually get out there. And like, maybe if you're a guy watching this and you are consistently going out there and you're getting results from cold approach, it's fine if you want to use it as, let's say, passive income, just ticking away in the background. But for me, even for me, I just think it's a complete waste of time. It's a waste of, I wouldn't say waste of money, it's not really that expensive, but it zaps your energy. And for me, it's almost like this dirty secret I've got there. I don't want to be as well. I don't want to be on a date with a girl who I've met from a dating app. I really don't want to be, because I feel as though I've not earned this. Like the way, let's say that's going to be my future wife. Like, do you really want to meet your future wife on some like weak, in some like such a weak method? So it's like, oh, if it wasn't me, it could have been anyone else, just because you happened to swipe at the right time. If you'd have left that match for another hour, like it'd have been someone else. So I just think it's a weak-willed way of meeting women. I really do. That's my opinion. Take it or leave it. But if you're watching this content, then that's not the fucking question to be asking me. Get out there and meet people in real life.
If you're gonna use it, don't be reliant on it. Would be my only advice with it.
Sorry, I just need to chime in here. I feel like Tinder is much more easy than cold approach. Much of the time is wasted getting numbers that don't lead anywhere. Yes, that's why you need feedback, my friend, because you're wasting your time doing the same things, the same wrong things over and over again. And now your brain is looking for the easy way of doing things. You're putting yourself into the majority. These guys who, when life gets easy, they get softer, right? So you need to take a long, hard look at yourself in the mirror and say to yourself, right, what sort of guy do I actually want to be? Do I want to be a dominant masculine man who goes after what he wants? Or do I want to just be like every other simp out there who's simping on a screen just because life got a little bit hard? oh, I'm sorry cold approach is hard. No one ever told you that this was going to be easy. It's not easy, but it's worth it. So if you want to revolutionize reality, then get feedback. It doesn't have to be from us, but just get feedback from somewhere, because I guarantee you're doing 1,000,001 things wrong, and you're one of those guys who complains in the comments, this doesn't work. This only works if you do, okay? So you actually have to put in the reps, get feedback, drop your ego. Hey, fucking presto. Anything else that you want to add on there, Daniel?
No, but there was certainly a good set of points. I didn't actually realize there was more conversation there. It came up on the screen, just some chat. I was thinking, oh, where's that comment? And then I scrolled it, and there it was. But no, I agree. So yeah, I mean, if you're gonna use it, just don't rely on it. It is a very it's too easy of a way to just sort of sit there and do nothing with your life. And in fact, I know of people who work at some of these companies for the dating apps, and you'd be amazed at really just how the algorithm plays on guys to try and get them to just pay and have access to content, or to women that just weren't interested in them at all. And there's a lot of sex workers now really on these apps, and there's a lot of fake accounts or accounts that women just haven't used for a long time. And also the algorithms with it tend to just make sure, well, we'll use the 80-20% rule thing here, but like the top 20% of guys on the apps get 80% of the best women as well. So you have to bear in mind, yes, you might be paying to have access, and you might have the ability to swipe as much as you want, but all you're going to be doing is just paying to just sit there and swipe. And these dating apps are just going to be quite happy to take not just your money, but like hundreds of thousands of guys' money as well, just for the sake of promising them the exact same thing, that yeah, meeting women is easy through our app.
Right.
But
Yeah.
it's not.
They want to plug instant gratification to weak men. Like, society wants weak men, and dating apps are an easy way for them to. That's why, like, high speed pornography. It's just easy ways to become gratified. So like, yeah, if you're one of those guys, you're not my sort of guy. Someone else is weed detrimental for day game. It's detrimental for life, mate. Stop smoking and start speaking to people in the real world. You already know it is. Why are you asking a stupid question like that? You already know it's detrimental. It's detrimental for your mind, your body, and your soul. So stop asking stupid questions. It's like, will walking in front of a bus kill me? Yeah, most likely it will. You already know the answer. So stop asking stupid questions. Anyway, this has been a great live stream, Daniel. If guys have listened to the whole thing, we really appreciate it. If you are interested in working with us in this one of a kind, the most unique coaching experience available, which are the Renaissance Days, the 4-hour one-on-one individually tailored sessions where you're going to be going around with Dan, getting everything filmed, and then getting deeper analysis from me, then just click the first link down below, book yourself in for a free 30-minute consultation call. You'll speak with me. We'll see if you're actually right for the program, and then we'll get you in contact with Daniel. Pick a day and a time that works the best for you. You'll get it all filmed. You get the full VIP treatment, leave feeling like a celebrity, then get the no bullshit feedback from me. Hopefully by watching this live stream, you know, I like to get straight to the point and be efficient with my feedback. If you ask stupid questions, you'll get very no bullshit answers. But no, this has been really good, and I hope we can do more live streams in the future. And hopefully all the guys who have been watching this have left wiser and happier individuals who can now go out there and actually crush it with cold approach. So yeah, man, thank you. I'm going to put this out now. And yeah, just looking forward to getting these sessions up and running with you.
Yeah, no, definitely. Honestly, I really genuinely want to kind of help a lot of guys with this, and if I can break them away from a lot of the pickup mentality that they've got, get them to have proper conversations with women that they're stopping, you know, that would be just really just the most amazing thing, to actually just see people create their own identity rather than just copying and pasting either a system or a personality from a different coach that maybe they followed. And yeah, and no, I look forward to hopefully working with guys and helping them with their stuff. As I say, you're in safe hands with me, and I'll try my very best to put a smile on your face with my dry and dark sense of humor whilst we're out and about, and just make sure that, yeah, you are going to have a good time, but more importantly, get the feedback that you need to get results.
Definitely. So stop playing video games, stop smoking weed, and your existence will 100x. So I think that's a good way of leaving it. Right. Love you. Bye.